So the first thing we want to do in preparing to do our analysis, our decision making with uncertainty, is to build the decision tree itself. And so we want to take what I have sketched out in the previous page here, and we want to figure out how to make this. So I just made it in a, like presentation software. You could do it that way. You could also create it in Python if you want. And so we'll show you how to create this here in Python. And this uses a package called Schemdraw. So I'm just going to go into my data set here. So just a reminder, if you want to work along with us, we are at drstephpowers.github.io/BIA. And we are working here in Chapter 10, Prescriptive Analytics. What should the organization do? And we're right here in this one called Optimization. Okay. All right, so let's go to our optimization. So you would click into here and then you would go into Google Colab button there and then log into your own Google Drive and save a copy. So let's go in here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install Schemdraw. It is not already available in our Python notebook. So we need to do a pip install of Schemdraw. We briefly mentioned Schemdraw when we were talking about process flow diagrams in a previous video. Schemdraw is kind of a pain, in my opinion, to use because it kind of sometimes it puts things all over the place. So creating process flow diagrams, I found it just keeps putting things in the wrong places. So I use Microsoft Visio for that. You can also use Microsoft Visio for these decision trees as well if you have access to it. But if not, I'll just quickly show you how to make a decision tree in Schemdraw. So we're going to, now that we've installed it, we're going to import it. And what we want from Schemdraw, we want to import flow. So Schemdraw is designed to do like circuits and a bunch of other types of scientific diagrams, engineering diagrams. And so we just want the flow part. So what I found with Schemdraw, in order to get it to nicely lay it out, or at least nicer, is to first run it where you just specify all of your boxes. So if we go back here, I want to have these boxes: new product, invest in research and development, terminate, marketing, terminate, positive economy, negative economy. So that's what I want to build. So the way to do this is that with Schemdraw.drawing, parentheses, as D, I just called it D for diagram. You can pick something else to name it. Then what we're doing is we're going to configure it so that the font size is a certain size. You can adjust that as necessary. And then what we're going to do is we're going to keep adding to our drawing by doing D plus or equals. Then what you do is name each box. And you need to name the boxes so that when you try to connect lines to things, you can specify which box to tie it to. So I'm just going to use kind of from process flow. This is activity 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to do a flow box. You can set the width and the height of the box. So I've just kind of set these here. And this here is going to help us in terms of the initial layout, in terms of how spread apart it is. Because as I said, Schemdraw is kind of a pain in the ass. And so if I don't specify kind of the coordinates for essentially where I want it to be, then it makes some things really far away and some things really close. So just a fair warning that you might want to kind of sketch it out on paper first if you're trying to create a nice looking one in Python. Again, my opinion, create one in Microsoft Visio. It's super fast to drop a couple boxes, connect the corners, and call her a day. But if you want to create this in Python, then think about this corner here as 0, 0. And so then what we're doing is we're spreading these out. So if you think about this, maybe this is 0, 5, 10, 15 as the start of each of these boxes that you want to line up. And then go up vertically, right, in terms of spacing, and then you can rerun or adjust later as we're trying to vertically space it. So that's what this is. It basically says the new product is going to start here on the x-axis at 0, but up a bit for the new product at 5, And we're doing that so the terminate can be slightly lower. So if I just click back here, if this is starting here at 5, that allows this to start here at 3. So see how it's lower than this. And then we can line these up here by both having the same Y location for these two. And you can line up these by having the same X location for these two. So a bit fiddly here. So this is just giving kind of that grid location of where I want the box and then the labels that I want for it. All right. So I paused the video for a moment because when I went to run the code, as you saw, it didn't work. So sometimes they update these packages and then things break. If that happens to you, then what you want to do is you want to do print and then the name of the package. And then we want to do is we want to do _version _ and run that. It will tell you which version of the package it has installed. And when I ran this the first time and it broke, it was running 0.19. I gone back to look at some of the previous versions. So what you would do is just go back in time, right? So go down a number or 2. So if we try this again, but we use version 0.17, which seemed quite stable based on the change log on their website, then what we'll do is we'll try running it here. So I'm just going to change it so that it's not running the most recent version, which was 0.19, but I can specify the version and I'm going to make it 0.17. So then I'm going to import it and then I'm going to run it. And now it runs. So if you have that issue where it just gives you some weird errors, then go back in time in those packages. So what I've done here is you can see I have laid out the pieces of my decision tree and I've laid out the boxes. So you can manipulate this a bit, right? Changing these coordinates to make it spread out the way you want, to make it line up the way you want. So I always recommend with Schemdraw that you create the boxes first and then you run it a second time with all of your flow. So what I have here is I've essentially just copied and pasted all of the boxes, and then you can see after box A0 we have a flow and we're showing it as a wire. So that means that when we do this, it's going to add a line with an arrow. And it is going to go from the east-northeast of A0. So it's going to take, so northeast, east-northeast, it's going to take this corner right here of A0, and it's going to connect to A1, west-southwest, northeast, southwest, west-southwest. So it's going to connect these two corners. And then I'm going to put a label there that says the probability equals 0.3 and -10,000. And what I would do is I would go through and connect all my boxes. So I am going to connect a box between A0 and A2. So it's going to be a flow with an arrow from A0 east-southeast, that's this corner here, to A2 west-northwest. So I'm connecting the box here. And that's going to have the label probability equals 0.7 and a 0 value return. So that's what we have here is we just have added in all these wires, where it's connecting on one box to where it's connecting on the next, and then the label that goes with it. So let's see if it can create this one. All right, so you can see what we've done is we have just added then this notation here that says this is a probability of 0.3 and the -10,000. So we've created our decision tree using Schemdraw. And in our next video, what we'll do is we will do our analysis with our decision tree, whether you made it in Schemdraw or whether you made it in Microsoft Visio or you drew it by hand.